My name is Courtney Brosnan. I'm a junior at Syracuse, or first semester junior. I'm a biology major in the School of Arts and Sciences, and I play soccer. I have two sisters, one older, one younger. Grew up with both my parents. Very close family, I think. All of us are pretty close, and my parents are really supportive of all of us, and we do a lot together, and I think they really watch out for us. I don't know if I can remember specifically, but I think we watch a lot of like Disney Channel, like Nickelodeon, things like that. I think now, like that I'm older, and when I watch like little kid shows, like I can kind of see that there's a message, but I don't know if when I was younger, if I like picked up on that. Yeah. Well, I think definitely like for me growing up, like yeah, we watched a lot of TV and stuff, but like that was always like kind of a reward, especially like, when we were really young, like elementary school. Like we weren't allowed to like come home from school and like watch TV, or like on the weekends, like we would, you had like kind of regimented time, so it was like. But like now, I think that there's like more media and like more stuff like that. Like kids nowadays, like it's like kind of all they do. Like you'll see kids at like a restaurant, and they'll all be like playing on their iPad or like watching TV on like their iPad or like iPod Touch, and like we were never allowed to like, even like now, like I don't, not really like allowed to have my phone when we're at like family dinners and stuff. So I think just that like there's more media and like more things like that definitely like has an effect on kids. I think it kind of has like a negative effect. I don't know, like kids are like starting to like, oh, they don't want to have like interactions with like other kids, I guess. Like they just kind of want to like do their own thing and like play on their iPad, and like I mean, and you go over for like a play date. Like I would go for over to like for a play date, and like you wouldn't even think about like doing anything involving like media or anything. You just like want to play outside. But like now, I think kids, like that's the first thing they look to do. Yes. I think that if you're so exposed to it and that's all you're seeing, like yeah, that you would kind of be something you would need to talk to your kids about. Like especially for me and like my older sister, we were like, I mean, like when you were younger, you were like really chubby, and like, but like that's a thing as a kid. I feel like everyone kind of has like that baby fat or whatever, and like I know definitely my sister in like middle school and stuff, like she was like always on like the bigger side, but I don't think that was ever like a problem. Like she would never like, and I don't think my parents or anything like that in the media was like, oh, like that's wrong. But like now, I feel like kids, like things that they're exposed to, like that would kind of like cause the kids to have like more of a problem with that. When like for me and like my sister, it wasn't even something that was like a big deal. Yeah, I think that like kids now like are kind of like more entitled and stuff because of like they're exposed to things so young. So obviously they are acting like more mature than their age, which causes them to like act in a different way. I think now that like technology has grown so much and become such a like important part of our culture, that which like I'm not saying it wasn't when I was younger, but it definitely like it wasn't the same. Like we didn't even like have, my parents didn't have iPhones or even like anything like that, and now it's like part like the people that I'm around or we're around, you like rarely see someone who doesn't have an iPhone. So I think that as like the times go on, it'll definitely be more of a problem to keep my kids not exposed to that. Yeah, I mean, I think it would make you have like different sort of values and stuff. Kind of like family is something that's really important to me because I grew up with such a close family and like tight knit, and we like did a lot of things together. But obviously, I could see how if someone grew up in a family with divorced parents, or their parents weren't around or anything like that, that could obviously have them to have a different outlook than I would on parenting and family. I mean, I think definitely if they're exposed to different media and they're watching a lot of shows and they see different like celebrities, actors, actresses, that they would kind of look at them as more role models than the people in their life if they're not around as much. Maybe just people in my school being a certain way or whatever, and obviously kids like make comments and stuff about that, so that could kind of shape what you think is like the right way, or like what you're supposed to look like, or like what people want you to look like. But I would say I was exposed to it, but it wasn't like a major factor. Well, actually, like I used to get like I subscribed to Sports Illustrated Kids or whatever, so like they would have the little like baseball card, like the little cards or like posters with the people on it. So I would always like cut out the posters, and they had like the name and like what sport they played and everything like that, and like a signature. So I kind of had those like hung up all around my room. I guess it was more like something to look forward to for me, because obviously like the magazine subscription only comes like once a month, so that was something like I kind of look forward to every month to like be able to get that. But it wasn't something where I was like every day looking up like different people online and thing. I think now kids have more access, so they don't have to wait for a magazine to come to like find out information about the people they're interested in. They can just look up anything on the internet. Yeah, I think it definitely had less of an impact on me because I only saw it every so often. It wasn't something that I was constantly thinking about, you know, it wasn't something that was affecting me every day. But now, like, as people can look at these models or whatever every day, that obviously has more of an impact on their life than it did for me, who was only looking at a magazine once a month, I guess. There is a big difference between the technology and just that will be such a big part of their life. And for me, like, I never had a cell phone or anything like that until I went into high school. So I think that just adds an extra component that they'll have to deal with that honestly wasn't even something that like crossed my mind. Like, I never like really thought I was like asking my parents for like a cell phone or a computer or something like that when I was younger, because that's not what I was interested in. I wanted to play outside and like play board games and like, I don't know, hang out with my friends. But I think now that's what kids want. Like, they ask their parents for a phone or computer or whatever when they're like 10, 12 years old.
My name is Blake Johnson. I'm a senior sport management major. Play soccer here. And I picked Syracuse because I wanted to be somewhere where it was kind of cold. I have two sisters. I'm the middle child. I have total middle child syndrome. My mom, my parents are divorced. They've been divorced since I was 5, so we just live with my mom. And she's a boyfriend, and they're pretty cool together. My mom, well, the reason we moved to Atlanta was because my mom got, I guess, promoted at CNN International. So we moved to Atlanta in 2000, and she's worked at CNN her whole life. So right after grad school, she was hired at CNN and worked there for 26 years. So my whole life growing up, she was at CNN International, always traveling. So we always had au pairs because she was a single mom. So she'd be gone for like 2 weeks at a time, and we wouldn't see her. She'd come back and like bring us presents from wherever she was around the world. And I remember she would always come home at, like, when we were eating dinner or eating dessert. Sometimes we wouldn't see her for a full day or something, but she was always at CNN, and that's kind of how I grew up. Was we would go in every once in a while, kind of get the tour. I remember we would bring in our stuffed animals and get to put them on the coffee machine and copy or and get like make up black and white copies of our animals. We thought it was the coolest thing ever. But I don't think I understood what she was doing and how, like, what her role was at CNN. She was vice president of CNN International and a producer of all these huge shows, and I don't think that, or I know I never really understood what her job and how amazing and all the crazy things she was doing. She definitely kept it separate because a lot of things she was going and like making stories about were like things that she probably really didn't want us to know or like know that was going on in the world. She created the shows like this whole series like Ion Asia, Ion India. I forgot what some other ones were. We went to Brazil and stuff, but I think she would always kind of keep it separate because I know that if she was gone for 2 weeks at a time, the last thing she would want to do when she came home was like turn on the news and like sit there with us and watch it. So it was always like when she was at work, and she would come home and like we don't remember her ever really talking about the news, I guess. We definitely were exposed to, I think, a different type of media, more like the international stuff rather than like local news or like national news. When I think it was the president of South Africa, I think, came to the U.S. My mom was like in like charge of the interviews and stuff that she was doing, so we came with her to one of the interviews at CNN International, which was really cool. So we kind of were exposed to the behind the scenes parts rather than what you would see on TV aspects. it was so normal. I don't think I've ever, maybe in the past couple of years, I realized like how crazy it was that she'd be gone for 2 weeks at a time. We'd literally be left with like they were au pairs, so like they were from different parts of the country for like 1 or 2 years, which is like pretty cool, but at the same time, like it's a lot of trust that she puts in them. But that was just totally normal for us for what from 2000 until 2008. It was 8 years straight. Yeah. We didn't watch that much TV. We never had TVs in our room. Um, it was always like we would always play outside. Never really sat inside and watched TV. When we went to our dad's house, we would watch a lot of TV and play a lot of video games, and that's like the huge main difference between our parents is like, and we would play outside with our dad. I guess sometimes like the three of us would go out, but that is like the huge difference is like being in our dad's house means TV and video games versus being with mom is like none of that. Yeah, I think it's obviously way more. It's like just so available now with all the different social medias, and it's just so accessible that there's no. I mean, I don't know. I try to think about the kids I know. One of my friend's little sisters is she's 12 now. She has an iPhone, of course, but she's not allowed to have any apps except the ones that were already on there. But she still has access to like the internet and like can look up anything for the most part, like whenever she wants to. So it's just so more accessible than it ever was for us. But I guess that's just 21st century moving. Yeah, I think that they're so much. They're like so focused on. I don't want to say likes because everyone says that, but it's just so like they're so in tune with what other celebrities are doing that are like what 18 years older than the kids are. So I think that you have kids who are in middle school who are growing up so fast because they're able to see all these things that people who are 10 years older than them can see, which is crazy because I feel like people always say like, oh, they're skipping like their awkward phase, but like they really are. Like I would never. I looked so weird when I was that age, but they have access to makeup tutorials and all this stuff that like I just feel like they're totally missing out on that phase when like they're experimenting because they are able to see what they want to look like when there's no like trial and error in their lives right now. I always thought that I didn't want to. I was always like, I don't really want to idolize one person because I know I'll never look like them. I'll never have the job they have and all that stuff. But I don't really think there was one or even a group of people, and there still really isn't now. Like, I don't like follow that many people on not that many like celebrities on Instagram just because it's distracting. It really is to me. The more it kind of is weird because I want to follow more people on Instagram and like the more friends I make, the more I want to follow. But then like by the end of my day, like I'm on my Instagram scrolling. I'm like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. Like it's just so much shit that I don't need to see. Yet like I feel inclined to follow someone because I might want to stay up to date on their life. Like as I've grown up, I've realized okay, one, I'm really tall. And like two, my body doesn't look like that person on TV's body. My hair does not grow like someone else's hair does. Like it's just so different. And I've realized like the people who are on TV and who are posting these like really amazing looking pictures on Instagram have also spent like hours to look like that just to get a picture, just to be on TV for an hour. So I don't think I've ever really been influenced that much, but I also know that like it kind of helps sometimes to look at something like, oh, like, okay, that's how I could, like, wear this shirt or something. But, like, I've never wanted to be like, I need to get my hair look like that because my hair is just so its own mind. So I don't really, I don't think I've ever been that influenced by someone. Maybe some of my friends a little bit. They've, like, helped that. But I also think that recently there's been a lot of, I guess, people that have been fighting back against the whole body image issue. But I think that with like Instagram and Facebook, that and like even magazines and TV shows and whatever, having such like easy access to things like that definitely influences kids who don't look like that and want to and don't understand that like everyone is just so different that you can't. I think about this often. Like I don't know how my mom raised me and my sisters. Like I think we grew up like pretty well, turned out okay. And I think about it, I'm like, how do parents like do that? I feel like when I am a mom, I'm gonna be like very concerned all the time as like what my kids are doing or like who they're interacting with and how those people are affecting their lives. So I'm gonna try not to be too controlling, but I also don't want to like just let them loose and do whatever, because I think that some control obviously is good.
My name is Stephanie Skilton. I'm from New Zealand originally. I'm an international student here on a scholarship to play soccer for the Syracuse women's soccer team. My major is health and exercise science, and I'm currently a junior, 21 years old. Obviously, coming from a very small country to a very big one is quite a culture shock, and everything here is done to the extreme, and everything is big and bold, and I love it for that. But yeah, I definitely appreciate going home and getting to see my family, and being so close to the ocean is very nice. But yeah, I think compared from home to here, the culture is a little bit different, and the atmosphere and environment is obviously very different as well. I'm the youngest of 4 children. My parents are happily married and enjoying their retirement now with all their kids grown up and left home. I'm the only one abroad as such. Everyone's still in New Zealand, starting families of their own, expecting 2 little nieces and nephews when I go home, so that's nice. And then, yeah, youngest of 4 and love having older siblings. I grew up kind of trying to tag along with my older siblings. My brother, well, we were all very sporty and active, always outdoors, kind of never really just inside watching TV. It was more, we're out doing something with 4 kids. Mum and Dad tried to keep us active and busy, so always active. I was a tomboy when I was younger, so I went through a nice phase of just having all guy friends and playing sports all day, every day. I wore boys' clothes, I had short hair, went the extreme, but I absolutely loved it, and my parents embraced it, and they weren't ashamed of how I wanted to act or how I dressed or anything like that, so they fully embraced it, and they knew I would grow out of the phase and let me be who I was, so that was awesome. I mean, yeah, I think in general, people were just open-minded about it. It was quite common for young children to kind of do that. They didn't really have a care. They just wanted to have fun and play sports, especially at my school, a co-ed school. But of course, you're going to get some parents or teachers and other kids who don't really know you and like to make fun or make judgments. But my friends kind of always had my back, and I didn't have a care in the world. I didn't care if they were passing comments. I just was happy to be called a boy and one of the boys, so it was fun. So obviously when you do look like a boy, you get mistaken for a boy. So this one story I have was when we were lining up in a boys and girls line, and obviously a teacher didn't know me as well and kind of saw me from a distance and was like, why is this little boy in the girls line? And told me to get in the boys line. And then myself and all my friends piped up and were like, well, I'm actually a girl, so I am in the right line. And a few laughs went around, but all was well, and the teacher kind of apologized, and she was fine about it. I was fine about it. Everyone win. Yeah, I mean, I just would always brush it off. I never had any like self-confidence issues about it, or kind of I just accepted it and was like, this is who I am. I don't really care. It's not going to change me or affect my day-to-day living. Yeah, I'd say that the New Zealand culture, they're very laid back and kind of optimistic, and they don't really, I mean, obviously everyone has their right and wrongs, but I think New Zealand as a whole and as a nation, they have their way of just accepting people for who they are and not kind of blowing things out of proportion, whereas I think America, they find something small and make it a huge big deal. And I mean, that's not an issue when like money and everything is involved and everyone wants the big limelight and publicity, but I think as a small country, we don't need to get into that kind of thing. You know, we've got other things to worry about and just kind of containing it within a country. So I do think being a small nation is probably a big difference. Yeah, I didn't watch TV really at all. I often would just be outside playing sports, and obviously with my siblings we had each other to keep each other company, and so we would always kind of opt, and our parents would encourage us to opt to go outside and do something active or make use of our time in another way than just put us in front of the TV or just listen to the radio or something. So we definitely weren't as exposed to the media um, as much other people were maybe, but I know that for my other friends, them growing up, my cousins and their family, they were also pretty similar, as they were more outdoors, and I guess New Zealand has a lot of nature to offer, so that helps a lot as well. There's definitely a lot of popular like New Zealand sitcoms and just like kind of New Zealand soap operas where the acting's really terrible, but it's awesome to watch, and I think that the idea and intent and content of the TV shows is similar to America and kind of worldwide, but obviously the acting is different, the people are different. But yeah, I think everything's basically the same, and often all the shows that are played here in America are played back home in New Zealand as well. So my mum was a hairdresser, and she kind of worked from home, works like commuting, just a mobile hairdresser in and out of home, so she could stay at home with us most of the time. And my dad owned his own plumbing business, so he also worked from home and then went out and about to do jobs. Yeah, I mean, they're both very hardworking people, and I think that comes from the jobs that they were in. So 2 jobs that they had to actually go out and work for their money, and obviously raising a family at the same time, 4 kids is pretty tough, but they were always there for us, and it was awesome to have them at home most of the time. Dad would always work quite late nights trying to keep up with the business as a sole owner of it, which was hard, but yeah, I definitely think that who they are as people and how hard they work shaped who we are as the children to grow up to the way we've become, and we definitely have taken on that hardworking aspect. Yeah, I mean, they were mostly my role models because, like I said, I didn't have to go looking for others, but I would see like famous, well, yeah, like New Zealand athletes. We have very good athletes who would go to the Olympics. We have good rowers and cyclists. So whenever we did watch TV, it was usually sport, and I would see these athletes and kind of aspire to be like them. And yeah, so mostly athletes were my role models. Yeah, so it was quite cool because New Zealand's such a small country. When someone succeeds, everyone kind of gets on board, which is awesome. So a lot of the athletes who were going to the Olympics at the time, I can't remember what year it was, but they would actually tour through all the local schools and kind of in every city. So we actually got to meet some of these athletes, and that obviously makes it all the more real and all the more personal when you can actually see them in person, even maybe ask a question or get to shake their hand, talk to them. So that's awesome. It's a lot more meaningful and significant to be able to meet that person you idolize, and then rather than just seeing them on the TV and the magazines saying that you would love to meet them, but you're never really going to. So definitely having that personal touch on it makes it all the more significant. Yeah, I think there's a lot more available in America. Obviously, yeah, they just do everything extreme and everything's extravagant, which is awesome in its own way, but I do appreciate coming from a small country. I think it's made me get to know people more on a personal level and kind of just not look at the surface and go beyond and see people for who they really are. I mean, it's quite interesting because when I do go home, I find myself, I'm never on social media, maybe every now and then just to contact like my friends back here, but when I'm here, I find myself on it all the time, like in between classes, trying to keep up with everything, and I think that's because the culture here is everything is fast paced and everything needs to be put on the media, publicized, and everyone needs to know what you're doing at this time, every time. So I think that's a big difference. But I do also appreciate it because it's a way that I get to contact my friends and family back home, and without it, I wouldn't know what they were doing. So I think that, like I said, there's a lot available, and I think more often than not, parents are turning to my, like, I don't know what to do with my kid. They're bored, so here's an iPhone, here's an iPad, do kind of what you like with it. And I think that is just, it's this day and age, and it's hard to get away from that, but I definitely appreciate my upbringing with not having as much exposure to technology and the media, and just kind of getting to live my own life and enjoy childhood. Whereas now, I think kids are kind of almost forced to grow up too quickly because they're being exposed to so much that they don't know how to handle all this information. That you need to look this good, you need to look like this now. So I think that's very different, but it's something that you can control in a way with the right tools and the right parenting, but it's still very difficult, I think. Yeah, definitely it's significant. You can notice it in this day and age. It's just wherever you look, with the click of a button, it's all you see. Look like this, do this, you'll look like this. You need to look like this. And then I don't remember ever seeing things like that when I was growing up, or ever worrying about it. Even my older sisters, I don't think they ever really. I mean, obviously, when you go through high school, you kind of want to look good and get boys and everything, but I don't think they never had personal self-image problems. And I think that also comes back to the parenting, like of my parents. They did such a good job, and having not having they were just always there for us, so we didn't have to go looking to see what I should look like on this day, kind of thing. So I think in this day and age, it is becoming more of a problem just because of how much we are exposed to it. But yeah, I mean, we can somewhat